It's the famous, world famous author Eddie Hearn.
Hello, everybody. See a lot of squares in front of me. Good to see you all.
What's going on, Eddie? What's happening?
Well, we're about to enter another lockdown in the UK, but we're still breathing.
Yeah, I heard they shut the country down, huh?
Yep. But elite sports is okay.
I wanted to come see the Pula fight.
I know.
Okay, guys, thanks for joining us, Eddie. I know a lot of you will have some questions, so let's just, and you're using the raised hand, which is great, but maybe, Eddie, if you could just start with just a few minutes, just talking about the card on Saturday night.
Sure. Well, I mean, what a division, the lightweight division. It's so frustrating missing these shows. You know, I don't really miss these shows very often, and I've had to watch some great shows, particularly Estrada against Quadras and Chocolatito a couple of weeks ago. And this is a big fight for Devin Haney because, you know, a lot of people just presume that Devin Haney is the next big thing. But if you want to be critical about his resume, he's yet to fight anyone anywhere near the ability of Gamboa. So, you know, I see a lot of people saying, oh, you know, why is he fighting Gamboa? Gamboa's finished. It's like Gamboa just had a very, very good fight with Gervonta Davis. We know that he ruptured his Achilles, but he hung in there till right to the death. And this is by far the toughest fight of Devin Haney's career so far. I mean, in fact, the jump in opposition, and you have to say that Abdullayev was probably the highest caliber opposition Devin Haney has faced so far. Gamboa is on another level to Abdullayev. So I'm expecting a great fight. I appreciate people who think that Haney is a level above Gamboa. They must rate him very, very highly. And we have those beliefs as well. But Gamboa is the kind of fight that I think Devin Haney needs to make a statement. And I think he is under pressure to make a statement in this fight because everybody else is making grand statements. I mean, the victory from Teofimo Lopez was just fantastic against Vasily Lomachenko. I know their team feel, you know, I spoke to Egis Klimas in London last week. They feel that, you know, Lomachenko was, you know, at 60, 70% in that fight, but it doesn't matter. Lopez got the win with a great performance and he comes out and emerges as a star. I think for years and years, the 147-pound division has been the starlight division in boxing. And now for me, we know the heavyweight division is on fire and it's always at a focal point for boxing. But this lightweight division is just fantastic. You know, Teofimo Lopez, stunning knockout from Tank Davis last week. And, you know, I have to give a shout out to him because, you know, I can't remember the fighter I was talking to this week where I said, that's the kind of performance or knockout or moment that you need in order to become a star, right? So Tank Davis is another one up there with Teofimo Lopez, of course. Devin Haney and the winner of Luke Campbell against Ryan Garcia. I mean, they are the gruesome foursome, you know. Well, that's gruesome twosome, isn't it? I have to come up with another one for them. But, you know, that's the four ball, you know, the four ball of the lightweight division, and they must fight everybody. So I think this is a big moment for Devin Haney. I have to give a shout out to him and his dad, Bill. You know, they've been pushing his profile in lockdown. He's become a star, you know, and this is a very important fight for him. You know, for me, I think this leads to the winner of Luke Campbell against Ryan Garcia in early 2021. You know, they're both the zone fighters. It's just a huge, huge fight and a very important fight for Devin Haney on Saturday. Two also important heavyweight fights, of course, Filip Hrgovic, who for me, I think is the next big star of the world heavyweight division. I mean, I think, you know, he's on the verge now of taking the big acid tests. I expect him to have a solid opponent on Saturday night. And also Zhilei Zhang. You know, I think anytime there's an undefeated Chinese heavyweight, I mean, that sounds pretty good to me because that can open up a whole new market for us over there. And of course, the young guns as well, Reshat Mati, Raymond Ford, Arthur Baisanglov. And, you know, I think it's big opportunities for those guys as well. But, you know, good card, but it is about Devin Haney on Saturday. It is about this young buck who people talk about potentially the next Mayweather or whatever they want to say, but he'll want to go out there and dominate Yurokis Gamboa, who's been training hard. And I think Gamboa probably sees this opportunity, you know, as a former unified champ to make, you know, one last run at the world title. And if Devin Haney's not the real deal, he'll get beat on Saturday night, because sometimes you get all these fighters that are hyped up and hyped up and hyped up, and when they take the leap, they're not what you thought they were. For me, that isn't the case with Devin Haney. But I think when you're in with a world-class fighter, you get to really find out the true ability, and I think you'll see Devin Haney shine on Saturday. So over to your virtual hands.
Hi Eddie, how's it going? Donna Corby here from MMA Island. This is a big fight coming up this weekend, but I do want to look forward a week to Katie Taylor, who fights next week. I just spoke to Scott Coker recently, and he says that there is a dialogue there between you and Bellator about doing this Chris Cyborg super fight. However, he also said that a deal breaker is this MMA fight, which I thought was a polite way of saying we're not interested. Could you tell us exactly what's gone on between you and Scott Coker, and how likely it is that at some stage we see Katie Taylor step into the ring with Chris Cyborg?
Well, I think, women's boxing is something that I'm very, very proud of at the moment, and we've still got a long way to go. We've got a long way to go with regards to equality of exposure, equality of purses. But that, I had an interview with The Athletic this week, and they were saying, some women are saying that they're not, getting the same money for a world title fight as a male world title fight. It has nothing to do with male or female. It comes down to the commercial value of each individual fight. Now, the top end of women's boxing is already there. Katie Taylor is earning more than male world champions. We got a world championship triple header of female boxing coming next weekend with Katie Taylor. And for me, I look at those fights, those super fights, and I look at options for Katie Taylor, and Chris Cyborg is really one of them. Clarissa Shields against Savannah Marshall, that's another super fight that can land for early next year. But I think with Katie, that the crossover fight always creates a lot of interest. I can't imagine Katie Taylor in a cage, right? She's a boxing purist. But if Cyborg wanted to entertain a boxing match, and, there's not been any negotiations, but I've certainly reached out to Scott Coker and said, I think that's a super fight. And at some point, Chris Cyborg is going to want, the biggest financial fight available. So we'll see if Katie Taylor can get past Gutierrez next week, but we'd certainly be open to Taylor versus Cyborg in 2021.
Jeremy?
All right. Hi, Eddie. Thank you for your time. You were talking about how for Devin, this is the type of fight that he needs to kind of gauge where he's at. Will you make a decision on his next opponent based on how he performs in this fight? Meaning, will you match him up depending on what you see from him here?
You know what, Jeremy? Devin is one of those few young fighters who is completely up for fighting absolutely anyone in the division, and has been consistently. I mean, don't forget, when we decided to go down the WBC route, this was purely to chase Vasily Lomachenko. I sat down with Devin and his dad, and I said, look, you've got all these governing bodies. You're up there in all of them. You tell me, what do you want to do? He said, I want to fight Lomachenko. I said, okay, well, if we get this final eliminator, and Lomachenko obviously was fighting Campbell, you will be the mandatory challenger to Lomachenko. That's what we want to do. As soon as he won that fight, we went to the WBC convention and we pitched to the WBC to order that fight immediately. At the same time, Top Rank pitched to the WBC that Vasily Lomachenko be made franchise champion. So unfortunately, we missed the boat. That's another discussion I'm sure might come up on the Zoom call about, world champions. So the great thing about working with Devin is him and Bill truly believe they can beat anyone at 135 pounds. They also understand they're not going to be at 135 pounds forever. He's a very big lightweight. He could move to 140 now, but all of a sudden, all the big fights, or majority of the big fights, sit at 135 pounds. So I think that any victory would lead to him fighting the likes of Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, Vasily Lomachenko. But the way in which he deals with Gamboa at the weekend is really important to how quickly he moves. But to be honest with you, Jeremy, I don't think that we can, Anthony, mute your call, please. Thank you. I don't think that I can do anything about it, because Bill and Devin are a million miles an hour, you know, and Bill obviously knows Devin inside out. He probably is a little bit biased because he's his father. But at the same time, you know, I didn't really believe that when Teofimo Lopez beat Richard Commey that he would really fight Vasily Lomachenko. You know, I heard all the noise and I thought, no, look, this guy could be a star. You know, surely he's going to have one defense, two defenses, and then go on and fight Vasily Lomachenko. These young guys are made of different stuff. And Devin is cut from exactly the same cloth as Teofimo and Tank. They really believe they can beat everybody and they have no fear in doing it. So, you know, from my point of view, a devastating performance from Devin on Saturday would give me full confidence to go out and risk it all against, you know, I mean, look, when we look at the ones that are fully proven is Tank and his Teofimo. You know, they have passed the elite level tests. On Saturday, Devin faces his real test. Ryan Garcia, who, by the way, is a great fighter and a fine young man, is yet to take anywhere near that test yet. I believe he has fantastic ability, but his test comes on December 5th against Luke Campbell. So it's great to see, you know, both Devin and Ryan having those tests to prove if the hype is real. You know, I have to take my hat off to Tank and to, although Tank is yet to have a real 135-pound fight, but, you know, he's a quality fighter. He has had big fights and, you know, Teofimo has passed the test. So now it's over to Devin and Ryan to show us what they can do before they enter the mega fight in 2021.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Eddie.
MREC TV, please.
Emrek, get that mute off, my man. Good
Okay.
man.
Eddie, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
So now, Eddie, you said something very interesting with Teofimo Lopez and Tank. You know, they passed their tests. Do you think Devin has the power in the same league as those boxers?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that Teofimo Lopez is definitely a puncher. You know, how hard he punches. Obviously, it's a great knockout win over Commey. You know, he had enough power to keep Lomachenko off. And Tank, you know, knocked out a super bantamweight and featherweight, you know, great fighter, someone that's crept up to super featherweight. The truth is that Leo Santa Cruz is not really a super featherweight. He's definitely not a lightweight. But listen, the fight was made at super featherweight. So Tank's power at lightweight still has to be questioned, you know, until he's knocking out big, proper lightweights. But he's a fantastic fighter. Devin is a very, very sharp puncher. You know, you saw that against Antonio Moran. You saw that against Abdullayev, who's very, very tough. He broke his orbital bone, you know, and I think that sometimes, you know, Devin is so young. And when these fighters learn to sit down on their shots more and more, they start to carry more power. And as their confidence and belief grows in the ring, they will carry more and more power. So, yeah, I think that Devin definitely punches hard enough. I expect this fight to be back and forth. You know, I really feel, speaking to Gamboa's team, that they kind of look at this as we're throwing the kitchen sink at this opportunity. This might be our last one. And they definitely believe that there are question marks. Listen, if I was on Gamboa's team, I would be sort of pushing the question to Gamboa saying, we just don't know about this kid, you know? We know he's got talent. We know he's got ability, but we just don't know when the going gets tough or when he steps up to the levels, if he is as good as people say he is. So there is that doubt. And Devin has to prove, and he wants to make a real statement. And I think that's the difference between these young guys that I said. Devin, he don't just want to win on Saturday night. He wants to shock all you guys. He wants all you guys to say, wow, this kid's right up there. He wants you to say, I think he can beat Tank. I think he can beat Teofimo, or I think he can hang with those guys. And the only way he can do that is to beat Gamboa better and more convincingly than a Tank did, or put a performance together that you guys go, wow, you know, and that's kind of the pressure more than anything. You know, I'm just thinking win, you know, defend your world title, and we got massive fights in 2021. He's thinking, I want to knock this guy out. I want to look sensational. I want all you guys to think that I am as good as Tank and I am as good as Teofimo. And those fights are super fights. What we need you guys and the fans being left with from this fight on DAZN on Saturday is we must see those. You know, we must see those. Give us Haney against Garcia or Campbell. Give us Haney against Tank. You know, because right now it's kind of like after those two performances, it's like, give us Lopez and give us Tank. Right. And yeah, Haney and Garcia, they're great as well. Now, on Monday, we want to say, give us Haney Tank, give us Haney Lopez, give us Haney Garcia or Campbell. So he's looking to make a statement. And in answer to your question, yeah, I do believe he carries the power. And I think he's a very big 135 pounder.
Thank you.
Hands.